Hello and welcome to this tutorial. My name is Siobhan from Business GT, and today's tutorial is going to be on inbound leads. So this is using the system to track inbound leads through specific email accounts and phone numbers so that your team can then follow up on those leads in their sales funnel and transform those into paying customers. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up tracked email addresses, as well as setting up tracked phone numbers, how to then populate the inbound lead section of your system, filter those for genuine leads, so filter out spam and supplier emails and calls, and then allocate those leads to a user to follow up within the system. So the first thing I'm going to do is log into my system. So I've gone to mysystem.businessgt.co.uk/BGT, enter my login details, and I'm going to tick keep me logged in so that I'm not logged out if I'm inactive for a short while. So I'm going to make my way to the admin section. The first thing I'm going to do is set up a tracked email address. So I'm going to use the app menu in the top right of the screen and make my way to admin. I'm then going to go to email admin using this top menu here, and then special user types. So these special user types are phone numbers or emails within the system that are tracked. So you can see we've got a line here for inbound telephone. We've got also inbound email, and these are going to be the ones that we're focusing on today. So you can see I've actually already got an inbound email set up. So when I set up this free trial, this was set up for me. So you'll have one too in your system, and it will be first name, so your first name at yoursystem.businessgt.co.uk, and the password and server IP address will already be in there. What you can also do if you want to track more than one email address in the system, so you want all emails sent to another account to show up in the inbound lead section, you can add as many as you like using this green plus icon in the corner here. So if I click that, you can then see I've got a new line in here that I can edit, and I can then fill in the details here. So what you need to know is the first name and last name. This is just an identifier within the system. So if I call that test setup, the username is going to be the email address that you want to track. So I'll put my email address in there. The server password, you need to get in touch with your server administrator if you're not sure what your email password is, as well as that server IP address. That's all you need to set that up. When you're happy with that, if you click update, for now I'm going to cancel that because I only really want to focus on this inbound email address here, so I'll delete the one I've just set up. So that email address, now when someone emails that email address, that email will show up in the inbound leads section, and I'll show you what that looks like a bit later on. What you can also do here is set up an inbound telephone. So in the same way as an email, you can track inbound calls to a specific phone number. Now, at the moment, this doesn't work with just any phone number. It does need to be one that you've purchased from us. And you can see details of that on our website at businessgrowthtool.co.uk/buy-now. And we'll set you up and set up all these settings for you so that you can then use that phone number on, for example, your marketing materials. When someone then calls that number, the call will be forwarded to your own phone number, so landline or mobile, for you to pick up on. But it's that intermediate step that means that the system will then know that a phone call has come through that number. So now that we've got all that set up, we're going to actually make our way to the website and create an inbound lead for us. So I'm going to use the app menu to go to my website. And I'm going to make my way to the contact page. That's where the contact form is in this email template that I'm using. So you can see my contact form here. So it's asking me for name, phone, email, and message. Now, this has already been set up, and if you want to know how to change the settings of these email forms, if you watch the website and CMS tutorial video, and in that I show you how to configure those settings. But for now, what I'm going to do is pretend to be a visitor to the site and fill this out. So I'm going to be John Smith. I'll put a phone number in there, his email address, so john.smith@catandmouse.co.uk, and I'll put in a message as well. So let's say that John is asking for a call, asking about our pricing. So please call and let me know your pricing. And I'll click send. And then got that confirmation message at the bottom saying, thank you, your message has been sent. So what that's now done, if I make my way to the inbound leads section, so I'll press Control M to enter admin mode while I'm on the site, and in the top left here, I'll click BGT. So I'm now back in my system, and I'll go to the inbound leads section, which is this in tray here in the app menu. And you can see we've got now tabs across the top. So we've got a summary tab, email, and telephone. So for now, because we're using an email contact form, I'm going to make my way to the email tab. And you can see I've already got some leads in here. So the first thing I need to do is repopulate this table. I'll click this populate icon in the top right of the screen, and that will then run through the inbound email accounts that I've got set up, check for any messages in there, and pull them out and show them in this table if there are any. So you can see I've found 3 messages, and that's going to include the one that I've just sent through the website. So that's complete, and I'll close that small window. So you can see here on this second row, that email that I've just put through the website is now showing up here. So I can see the date and time that came through, who it was from, so their email address, which address it was sent to. So that's, in this example, it's first name at mysystem.businessgt.co.uk. So if you did have different settings for different contact forms, you could see which ones they've come through depending on which account they've gone to. And here we can see the lead type. Now, this lead here has gone in as possible because at the moment we don't know whether it's a genuine lead, whether it's maybe a supplier trying to get in touch, or whether it's just spam. So that's the first thing we need to do. We need to take a look at that email and see what the content is and what we now need to do with it. So I'm going to click on this view icon here, view details, which will then open up this email here. Now in this window I can see who it was from again, date and time that it was sent, and I can also see the subject, which I've just put as inbound lead from website. I've got their details that they've put into that form, so phone number, email, and I've got their message. So I can see now this message, please call me and let me know your pricing. This is a genuine lead. So now I need to add this new contact, assuming that they're not already a contact in the system. I need to add their details into the system. Now, if they are already a contact, the system should recognize their email address and you won't need to go through this stage. But for now, this John Smith contact, I don't know who he is at the moment, so I need to add him as a contact. So I click this create member from these details icon in the top right here, just the 2 little people. And this will then allow me to add John Smith as a user. So I'll enter his first name, last name, his telephone number, and his company name as well. If I click save, and I can then close that window. So now I'm ready to tell the system that this is a genuine lead. So I'm going to click allocate leads in the top left here. And I'll then have these options available to me for each inbound lead. So on the second line, you can see here, I can change this from possibles to a genuine lead type. And what I'll do now is actually allocate this to a user to follow up. So you can see I can set the user, so I'll set that to me. I can set the status. So because in this email, John Smith has asked for us to give him a call to let him know about pricing, I'm going to put this into my potential customers funnel at the call status. I'm then going to set a priority. So I'm going to label this high priority. And when I'm happy with those settings, I'll click Save Changes. That will then whiz away and put that into my sales funnel. So if I show you what that looks like, so using the app menu, I'll go into my sales funnel. And you can see I've already got some items in here. So I put the inbound lead at the call status high priority. So if I click on this number 2 here, I can now see this second row here is the lead that I've just allocated to myself. So you can see the subgroup here tells me that it was an email import. When I'm ready to actually record work against this contact, so I'm ready to make this call, I'll click call here just on the right hand side, which will then open up the recording work page. Now I can also see in here, so I've got the full details of what this email contained, so the actual content, when it was sent, who by, and when I'm ready to start recording work, I can use this page to do so. I'll be doing a separate tutorial on how to use the sales funnel. So if you keep an eye on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to understand how the sales funnel really works. But for now, I'm going to leave that there. So the other inbound lead type is an inbound phone call. So if we make our way back to the inbound lead section, and at the top left here, I'm going to select the telephone tab. Now you can see here I've already got an inbound telephone number set up, which is this number here, 0800 012 2069, which is a business GT number. So I've got a full list of all calls coming through that number. So for each line, I've got the date and time, who called, so that's the phone number that called, which number they called, so I might have multiple inbound phone numbers, as well as the lead type. Now, if we want to look at one of the detail of these phone calls, we can do so. So if I click on this third line here and click the icon on the right that is View Details, I can then see some basic information about this phone call. Now, obviously, because we don't record phone calls, we don't actually know whether this was a genuine lead or not in terms of the content of that phone call, but we can make an educated guess. So for example, we can see here that duration was only 17 seconds. So if this was a genuine lead, it must have been a very quick phone call. So we might make some assumptions based on that. We can also see the location. So this phone call came from Bristol, for example. Now, if we want to know who that was, we can also run a quick Google search. So at the top here, we can see their phone number. And if I click this Google icon, that will actually run a search using Google with that phone number. So I can use Google to find out who that was and give me an idea of whether this was genuine or not. So in this example, you can see this is actually one of our suppliers, the business show. So if I close that window, we now know this is a supplier and not a genuine lead. So if I close this small window, I can now click, just as I did with the email leads, I can click Allocate Leads in the top left. And for the one that I just did, so this was this one here, the third line down, I'm going to change that lead type to suppliers. And that will then filter those out. If I can then filter out all the suppliers if I would like. Now, if I had looked at that phone call and decided, no, this is a genuine lead, just as I did with the email, I can then mark that as genuine and go on to allocate that to a user. So I'll set that into my sales funnel in the same place. Maybe this time I'll send them an email, so I'll put them in potential customers funnel at the email status. Set the priority. I'll give that a high priority again and save those changes. And again, if I make my way to the sales funnel using the app menu, I can then see in this email status here at high priority, I've got 2 items, and here's at the top line the one that I've just allocated. So I can see the duration there and the date and time again. So that's how we would allocate leads to a member of staff to follow up. We can also then do some simple reporting. So if we make our way back to the inbound lead section, and now we're in the summary tab. So if at the end of the month, for example, we want to take a look at how many emails have come through certain email accounts, you can do that here. So I'll set the date range. So at the moment, this is over the last month, and I'll click Go. And you can see, so just from the top here, I can see that I've had 3 emails, 2 telephone calls. And because I've got this checkbox ticked up here which says show only genuine leads. I know that these are genuine, so over the past month I've had 3 genuine emails and 3 genuine phone calls. If I want to also see other lead types, so for example, I also want to know how many supplier emails have come through or how much spam. If I untick the genuine lead box and click go, you see these numbers have jumped up. So if I then click this chevron here on the telephone line, I can then get a bit more detail. So I've got 12 duplicates, 1 supplier phone call, 7 possibles that I haven't yet allocated, and I've got 2 genuine. So that's how we would use the summary section. Now, what we'd recommend is just trying this out at first, but when you are ready to, you might like to, for example, have a different email address for different email campaigns that you're sending out, or maybe a different email account for a flyer. And what this will then let you do is see which leads are coming from which channels. So you can then judge your return on investment quite easily using the system. So for now, that's the inbound lead section in summary. This tutorial is going to be available on YouTube, and if you have any questions or need any support, if you first check our website, that's businessgrowthtool.co.uk/learning support, or email me at siobhan@businessgt.co.uk. Thank you.